Oakley Dokley. So we are back. We are back.
We're back, baby.
So once again, you've got me, just another Jake, Easter Josh, and Six Shaka Bro. So this time around, since this is November, last time in October, we talked about how big of a month that was. This time around, we will be discussing a little bit more about ourselves, so you guys can get to know us, just a little bit about us, our tastes towards things, with the theme overall, nostalgic games.
We like video games.
Yep, nostalgic games, biggest influences. I will say right away, this isn't like a top 10, top 5.
No.
We'll each be doing 5 games, so this isn't a top 5. Some of these probably would remain up there for some of us.
Agreed.
But these are more so influences when we were younger, like probably up until like middle school kind of levels.
Yeah.
What we enjoyed. But without rambling too much.
Why we're gamers today, kind of.
Yeah. Yep. Why we are.
For me, why we're into the games that we are.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's.
Right.
Yeah, but without rambling too much, let's get right into it. We will go, and these aren't in any particular order.
Mine are,
at least for me.
Yeah, mine are in order.
There aren't my favorite games, but I'm gonna try to let some like very off the cuff here about how influential they are to me. So bear with me. This might change. Obviously, I think I could do it on a daily basis. You ask me one day, it's just. So so currently we have first for me. So most people know. Well, it's honestly, if you've seen my videos, if you were like subscribed to my stuff, you already know. I'm a Zelda guy. So Ocarina of Time is the game that got me into Zelda because it was the first Zelda game I played, and there's a lot I owe to that game. And Nintendo 64 was a fantastic console for first-party Nintendo games. And this is just one that, being also transparent, I actually didn't play this for a long time because my brother played it and it was his copy, and I watched him play the game like multiple times. And honestly, it wasn't until about middle school where I played it. I already had a few Zelda games done, like Link to the Past and stuff, but I actually didn't play this. But I had very early exposure as a kid to this game and Majora's Mask. It's just Ocarina of Time is a fantastic Zelda game, 3D Zelda game. It is still one of my favorite, if not my favorite Zelda game, if I'm being honest. I feel like it did everything right, and it is one of the best transitions, in my opinion, of a 2D to 3D game hop. It did it better than Mario 64, in my opinion. Just as like a very obvious comparison, but just did this better than most other franchises, and yeah, Zelda's one of my favorite franchises, and I know I definitely share a lot of this to Ocarina, and just that legacy it impacted me and, well, pretty much a lot of other people. It is that game in the franchise, like a Final Fantasy VII, like a Mario 64, that just skyrocketed the series into where we're at today. So, I mean, obviously, I know you guys have both played this game and have your own opinions on it, but I guess just, that's kind of where I'll have, that's my ramble on this, but it's very simple. It's just the first Zelda game. That's really why it's here.
Very interesting, because that is one that definitely would make my top 10 favorite games. Not one that made my influences. But I definitely considered it for a while. But I don't play all that many Zelda games. I had a big gap between Ocarina. I think the next one I played was maybe Skyward? Twilight Princess? One of those two. I know. Huge gap. So that's why that one couldn't make my list. But
I don't know about this list specifically, but you will see Josh and I tend to have very similar tastes.
I'm the odd duck.
He leans a little more. He leans a little more towards JRPGs, and I feel like I lean a little more towards horror and fighting games. But I mean, we have our similar interests, and Ocarina of Time is definitely one of those games for me that is really great. Spoiler alert: it's not on my list. It does have slight ties to one that I will mention, but it's not up there in terms of playing it. Then I have core memories with the game, but playing it through, honestly, it took me a while to actually get to the Zelda series, in terms of stuff. just like Nintendo games. I actually took a while to get there. But no, I see why so many people are attached to this game, and it's definitely one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, so that's my number 5. I don't really have much else to say. It honestly is very cut and dry why my reasonings there. So, Grant, you're up next.
All right, my number 5. Again, I don't think you guys will be able to guess my list because maybe makes my top 10. But number 5 for me is going to have to be Halo 3, or if I could go a little bit later, Halo Reach. These were banned in my household for whatever reason. Halo was absolutely banned. I had to go to friends' houses to play this, and I would go almost every weekend to play Halo. Like, this was my absolute crap in middle school. Like, it was absolutely astounding to me that I could not play this, but other games in my household were approved. So, like, yeah, we would steal Dad's GTA and stuff, but the Halo, of all things, like, no, can't have that. You can't kill aliens. Really fun. This got me into shooters. I fell off. Like, Reach was probably the last one that I was just like, absolutely love Halo. This is fantastic. I need more, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I can't say enough about Halo 2 and 3. Halo 1 was fun, but Halo 2 and 3, I played the story over and over and over and over. And, you know, like I said, anytime I'd be at a friend's house, I'd be like, yo, bust out your Halo. I can't play this at home. So, this game meant a lot to me, got me into shooter-type games, so made my list number 5.
I have no comment.
Oh, I'm kind of surprised.
It's because his is number 5.
I'm guessing it's the same one.
I will spoil it. Halo 2 is my number 5, but we can continue to talk about it.
I don't have super much familiarity with Halo. I played a lot of Halo Reach, like just multiplayer Forge mode is fantastic.
Yeah, oh my god.
I need to get into the Halo franchise more, but I mean, obviously it makes sense to be there.
Yeah, that's my number 5. Since Jake doesn't have a comment, we'll move into Jake.
Yeah, I was gonna say we can move into Halo 2 or Jake's 5, and then we can talk more about Halo if we want to.
What? Jake? Halo 2?
Yeah, so mine is Halo 2, Halo 3. I was introduced to shooters way too early. But with Halo, I grew up playing. Well, I didn't have this. I would go to a friend's house, similar to Grant.
Yep.
But this was Halo 2. So Halo 2, I was able to play at friends' houses, played through all the story. I loved it. Didn't really do too much with multiplayer. So this is one of my 2 cheats. There's technically 2 games.
I did the same
Halo
thing.
3. Halo 3 is where it's really big for me, where that's like, I loved this. I actually like emotionally felt the story.
Yeah.
I played on matchmaking every freaking day after school.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I got most of the achievements. I don't think I ever got all of them because I'm an idiot and I can't do a lot. But yeah, I mean, Master Chief is one of my favorite video game characters of all time. I love Halo 1, 2, 3 Reach, even a little 4. I think they're all phenomenal. But it's just so important, like custom games with friends after school. Playing through the story several times with friends after school. It was a very big after school thing, even like parties and stuff. We would bust out Forge. Reach was obviously very big for us too, but 3 left more of an emotional impact, and like 4 just what I like in terms of games. So yeah, so I mean, we don't need to talk too much more about Halo, but
that's crazy.
Yeah, Halo, it was, and I actually did pick this to be my number 5 as well.
I'm surprised. I thought it would be higher on your list, but now I'm really curious to see the rest of yours.
Yeah. All right, you go, Josh. Unless if you want to say something about Halo 2 or 3.
Not super much. As I said, don't have too much familiarity with the series. I've only really played a lot of Reach, and that's only with the multiplayer aspect. So, and honestly, echoes pretty much your guys' stuff. I had a lot of fun with it. And I know the story of Reach is fantastic. So, yeah. So, moving on to my number 4. I got to think about this, but I think I have it. So, this one also doesn't really come as much of a surprise to anyone here. So, because similar to Ocarina of Time, it's just the first Pokemon game I played. I have a very interesting story with this. It's the first game I owned. No, I didn't buy it. One day, I got to play Pokemon with some of my brothers, and sister, and neighbor, and I really liked the game. And I told my mom that I really want a Pokemon. And so they helped pitch in, and that one day I hung out with one of our neighbors. He gave me his old Game Boy Pocket. He had a Game Boy Color, didn't need a Pocket anymore. The next day I went home, and for my birthday they gave me Pokemon Yellow.
That's really cool.
And so it was the first game I owned. I had a lot of fun with it. I played a lot of the game, and similar to Ocarina of Time, Zelda, Pokemon Yellow, and Pokemon has always been a near and dear franchise to me, pretty much for this reason. Looking back on it now, not one of my favorite games. It hasn't aged always the greatest, but like I'll always look back fondly on Yellow, and it can't be a game I dislike. And even obviously with the trend that we've gotten with Pokemon in the last few years, it is a game that I'll never knock people who play every Call of Duty, every all those type of games. That FIFA even, FIFA, all the sport games, because that's pretty much me with Pokemon. I'll play every generation of Pokemon, regardless. Probably do the Yellow. Even if I know it's not going to be great, I'll play it. I'll bitch about it. Yeah, that's all I got.
I'm not gonna say much. Pokemon will come up later for me, so.
No,
Pokemon has touched all of us. Us 90
yeah.
kids, we love Pokemon.
I was a Pokemon Minecraft YouTuber.
Okay. Anyway, it's interesting you say that your number 4 made it that you played all of them. Because my number 4 did the same. Number 4 for me, most influential, Assassin's Creed, the original.
Oh.
I knew that. I didn't want to yell it out, but I knew it.
Yeah.
Once you said every game.
Yeah. I do not care for the entire franchise. And I think Assassin's Creed will always be near and dear to me, the first one. Because it's so different from the rest of the games. Like, don't get me wrong, 2 and all of Ezio's story, really cool. But I thought what number 1 had was really cool, where it's like, here's your target, go learn about him, go assassinate him, bring back proof, upgrade your gear. And, I think Mirage has done a little bit to bring some of that back. But, I don't know. There's something very special about Assassin's Creed 1 that I think has been lost along the way.
It has a very good gameplay loop that modern Assassin's Creed games could fix. I know a lot of people talk about how the original Assassin's Creed could get a remake, and I would actually, speaking of our last one, if you watch the October one where we talk about remakes, that is a perfect example of a game that could do a remake fantastically, the original Assassin's Creed. I think conceptually it is one of the best in the game. It's not my favorite in terms of gameplay, but it is such a cool game that I think it and like 2 hold very good respect for people, like the gaming sphere, as people had a lot of respect for it before it became it came out very frequently, and people then threw it to the wayside of games that released yearly, kind of had that negative stigma to it. But no, I agree with all your points, and I understand it. I played it pretty late. I played it like 16, 17 almost, but I think it's a great game.
I think this was also mentioned in last month's video, but like the fact that it can bring all the world's religions together, science together, and put it into one, be like, okay, this was a civilization, this is why this is the way it is, so on and so forth. I freaking love it. I think it's a cool, deep story that they've been kind of dancing around, to be honest with you. I don't think they've gotten too deep into, I can't even remember what they're called, but like the gods. I think they could do a little bit more with that, but I don't know. It's such an interesting idea.
It's a thing that I agree with. Like, I cannot dislike the Assassin's Creed franchise, even in today's day and age. It is something that, like, a lot of same points that you agree with, Grant, where it's just, I want to play the games, even if I know they're not going to always be the best. I just gotta experience them just because I think it's cool. And yeah, some games have been a little bit more lazy, but that's okay. It is a franchise that I will accept flaws and all.
I have much less to say on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I played Assassin's Creed. I've played Assassin's Creed. I love 2, and I love Brotherhood. Aside from that,
Good
I've
games.
played not great ones. I played a little bit of 3, and I enjoyed it. And I know people don't like 3 that much. I enjoyed 3. Black Flag was a little daunting to me. That's kind of where I dropped the series. I never played the original, I'll mention. But aside from that, then the only other one I played was the train one. And I actually really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Kind of to Jake's point, Black Flag is probably considered the best one. I disagree with that, and I might get hate for this, but all of the boat combat, that was, to me,
That's
boat
what
combat
was so daunting to me.
Yeah, the boat combat is the worst. I'm sorry. It's not fun. I don't enjoy it. 3 overdid it when they were like, oh, you get a boat. By the way, everything you do from here on out is going to be a boat battle. And then they made the next game all boat battle. So I love pirates even. Like, I absolutely love pirates. I think they're really cool. Ren Fair, I go as a pirate. But like for me, it lost assassin drive. It was, Assassin's Creed, the pirate game. So I don't hate it. I do like and enjoy Assassin's Creed 4. I disagree that it's the best one.
Unfortunately, but alrighty. Jake, you want to go into?
Yep. My number 4 is kind of boring. I think a lot of people could kind of just say this in general. This is my other 2-for-1, Melee and Brawl.
Oh my gosh!
I lean towards Brawl, but Melee is the same reason as 2. I played it first. I was experiencing that first. Brawl is the one that has the impact on me. It is what got me. It got me into fighting games a little bit. I will say. The other game isn't on here, and it's very influential. But Dragon Ball Z Budokai is what got me into fighting games. It's what got me into Dragon Ball. That is a huge game for me, but that is a little less on the game side. But Melee was my introduction to a lot of Nintendo series, namely the big one, I think, for a lot of people, Fire Emblem. I thought Roy was so cool.
Yeah. No, it's same thing.
Martha a little less so. But then extend that to Brawl, I thought Ike was the bomb.com. Holy
Ike
hell.
still might go to a Brawl, let's be real.
But I'll finish on my thoughts on Melee before I talk about Brawl. But
Sure.
I'm actually not a huge fan of Melee. It's not my favorite for a couple reasons, but it did introduce me to a lot, and it's fun to play casually. But a lot of people that I played with were tryhards, and the only character I was good at was Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong and Pichu.
Really?
But I loved Mewtwo. I couldn't get the hang of him. Ness
That
was
is a
really fun,
combination.
but I couldn't get the hang of him. Yeah, I know. It's because I was tiny kid brain, and mashing down B was the best. But then you come to Brawl, and we get to the masterpieces, which is a huge deal. That's what introduced me to Ocarina of Time. So I had Ocarina of Time, but I hated it because I played on my dad's save, and he saved in the Shadow Temple.
Oh God!
And
Okay.
I was a scared little boy. And then I eventually found out how to get back to Castletown, and there's a bunch of redeads. So I was terrified.
That's horrible.
Of
That's
Ocarina of
horrible.
Time. The masterpiece, you could play a little more. It's like the kid and stuff. I'm like, oh my god, this is awesome. So I went and played Ocarina. But you talk about the characters that are involved. King Dedede and Meta Knight were huge for me. So I loved Kirby. Pokemon stuff, like seeing Lucario, was amazing to me. Lucario was one of the reasons why I wanted the game.
The Subspace Emissary in and of itself.
I was just about to say,
crazy.
Yep.
brought in the story mode. That was
I was
so good.
fascinated. I was fascinated with Pit. So when we inevitably got Kid Icarus Uprising, I was all over that. I just wanted to know who this guy was. Why he do? Lucas as well, and that was much later. I tried Mother 3, but the short end of this ramble is it introduced me to a lot of stuff.
That makes so much sense.
But yeah, fighting games is an encompassing thing. A lot of things. This was my door to Zelda. I know obviously this was at the point where we were already at Twilight, but I had been around Zelda but never gave it a shot, and eventually that is actually, you could probably stem this to my game collecting too, because I wanted to play Majora's Mask and I could never until I got finally got the cartridge of it. So
that's why I bought Metroid Prime off of one of my neighbors, because I didn't know anything, but I thought Samus just looked so freaking cool, and then I brought Metroid Prime. It's not on my list, but it is a fantastic GameCube game.
Yep. I also bought into all of those playground rumors of like Sonic being in Melee, Toad being in Melee. But
somebody told me Taboo is playable.
Yeah, it plays Master Hand and stuff. I mean, there's a glitch where you can play Master Hand in Melee.
Yeah.
But still, like, I mean, you even want to go to other characters. That's how I got into Metroid. That's how I got into Metal Gear.
Fighting games are fantastic for that. I know we were a little too young for that, but like similar stuff to a lot of similar Mortal Kombat. I think of a lot of like, especially mainly because like a lot of those playground type of rumors, arcade rumors, became real characters at some points, which I love seeing the lore on. But
yeah, and I mean I'll just mention that as the only fighting game I had played prior to Smash Brothers and Dragon Ball. That was Mortal Kombat. And I was kind of just thinking, oh, this is what Mortal Kombat is like, not, oh, fighting games are like this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I inevitably got into Street Fighter through Smash. I mean, obviously, it was before Ryu was added, but just because fighting games and stuff. But yeah. That's that. I'm sure everybody can talk about Smash Brothers being influential, but that is my reasoning.
That's crazy. You like mark this on the calendar. You have changed my mind. I loved Melee over Brawl, but everything you just said opened my eyes, dude. Like, I think Melee for me was one of my favorites because, like you said, it was the first one I played. But Brawl is way more influential than Melee ever was. Like, I cannot believe it took me this long to see that, but you were so true. Like the story mode, I'd been like obsessed with. Okay, Nintendo has this whole world, but they're all separated. Like that can't be. How do they connect? And they gave it to us. They're like, I know it's not canon or anything, but like they're like, here you go. You know what? This is how they all connect, and it's so cool to me. So, oh my god, you changed my mind.
I will say. No, you can go ahead. You go ahead.
Oh no, Smash is good. Melee was one I considered too, but I never owned Melee for the longest time. But it was my neighbor's game. She owned a GameCube. It's pretty much I go over there. I'm like, give me Sonic Adventure Battle 2 and Melee, and that's all I freaking needed. And that was my lifeblood for the longest time till I owned my own GameCube initially. So yeah, it's just. Smash is great. I don't have any Smash on there, but Smash Bros is pretty much honestly, Jake nailed everything. Anything that I would just be repeating what Jake said. So honestly, just big ups.
Right? Yeah. I that's what I was kind of saying. Is I feel like a lot of people can just relate, but Smash Brothers is kind of an encompassing.
Yeah. What a great pick.
As a kid, it was one of the first times like I got really hyped for a cutscene, like seeing it happen.
Yeah.
Unfold, like when Kirby comes down in the Dragoon. He slices the cannon in half. Or when Sonic finally makes his appearance at the end.
Dude, that Sonic coming in it.
Tears in my eyes. I hated that he was the last character. I hated it was at the very end. But it was the coolest freaking entrance.
That was like my Marvel's Avengers one.
Right. Totally.
I didn't have that hype because I'm not. That's a whole other tangent, but god dang, dude. Sonic coming in to fight Taboo. Oh my god, bro.
Right, like
there couldn't have been anything cooler to like whatever age was at that time for good like 10-year-old. Moving on. Alright, my number 3. I was thinking about this a lot of where do I want to put this one. And once again, to nobody's surprise, Banjo-Kazooie. Banjo-Kazooie is one of, if not my favorite 3D platformer. It is once again, one of the first games I got to play on my Nintendo 64, so kind of going back into a little story time mode. my family wasn't. My parents weren't really like, oh, video games are stupid. My uncle was a lot younger than my mom. So he got to grow up with the NES. He got to grow up with the Genesis. Those were like some of his games he got to play. So he was a big gamer, and so my parents had no video game system. So around the time the N64 was popular, he swung on by and gave our family the N64, and it had a few games on there. Pokemon Stadium was one of them. Great game. I had a lot of fun with that. That was technically my introduction to Pokemon, before Pokemon Yellow, if I'm being honest. Honestly, Mario Kart 64, introduction to Mario. Mario Kart 64, another great game. And then Banjo-Kazooie was another one. And what an amazing game to just have. I feel like I feel like I got lucky. It is so good that I don't have too much bad I want to say about it. It is just a game that I don't know. It means a lot to me in terms of just what games I wanted to play. And honestly, if I don't know. If you asked me to make a game, I feel like my especially kid would have made a game that's Banjo-Kazooie. And it's just it is actually crazy because it wasn't until about like 6th grade I didn't even know that Banjo-Kazooie had a sequel. So imagine my surprise when I missed out on Banjo-Tooie, and I'm like, oh my god, I've been missing out on this game for my entire life. There's just so much I had in this game. I was just like playing around it before the internet, before I used the internet. I was too dumb and young to do that stuff. I had so much just time just exploring around, trying to figure out where to go, what to do. I remember a very core memory of mine was like trying to figure out like the entrance. So early on, very specific, but if you play Banjo, you'll know the entrance to the final world, Click Clock Wood, the puzzle piece to make the puzzle appear. It's in a very close area to Treasure Trove Cove, which is the second world in the game. You go there, and it just shows a picture frame with no puzzle pieces in it. That's how you open up the worlds. Except for one little piece that doesn't show you anything. There's no way to add more puzzle pieces, and it was so mysterious. And I'm like, how do you get here? And I don't know, something about that was just like, this is, in nowadays, in modern games, and with obviously not a child brain, I know that everything has its point. You know, it's like either a game, you'll access this in the game, or it's just not part of the game because it wasn't programmed or designed that way. It's just me as a kid, I'm like, is this like, I don't know, something about this like weird mystical kid secret that I did not comprehend. And then one day when I eventually get to the point where you finally unlock the switch that shows the puzzle piece, and I'm like, oh my god, it's for this place. And like the music ties up together with the adapted music of Gruntilda's Lair. Once again, that is just something that like for me is just one of those moments that I don't think I'll ever forget in gaming. And it's not even that super crazy of a moment. It is just something for me that it's like, ha, yeah. And it's something that sucks because I'll never be able to replicate that, mainly because it's just like, I understand how the world in games work now, but elementary school, very young kid Josh, no idea. So, that's Banjo-Kazooie. That's all I really got to say.
I mean, I've known about Banjo-Kazooie since that's probably one of the earliest games I had played. I won't say like I played through it. I never owned it. I played it at a friend's house, and I actually only ever played Banjo-Tooie because my friend had said Banjo-Tooie is just Banjo-Kazooie but better. So I thought it was the same game but like an upgrade.
Yeah.
Because I was familiar with stuff with like MK Trilogy versus like the other versions of Mortal Kombat 3. So I thought it was one of those kind of things. But nope, Banjo-Tooie was the sequel. But I didn't play Banjo-Kazooie until Rare Replay on the Xbox One.
Oh wow!
And I'm glad I did. I did play it. But it is a very special game. I love Banjo-Kazooie. I'm not as big of a fan of Banjo-Tooie. I don't know. I totally see everything that you're saying. That's how my friends talked about it. But for some reason, they thought Banjo-Tooie was just a replacement. But regardless, I saw that firsthand. I saw that love for Banjo-Kazooie to the point where it's like, even when Banjo was rumored to be in Smash, like, I wasn't that familiar with Banjo-Kazooie. I'd played Banjo-Kazooie, but it was like, at that point, it was like I just wanted him in because I knew how excited other people would be. I was the same way with Gino. It's like I don't really care for Mario RPG too much. I like Gino's design, but it's like those two characters, I know how excited people would be, and I would love that for other people because I was lucky enough to have that with like Crom and Sonic and, you know, like just characters that I'm so attached to. But yeah, no, I totally see that.
I feel like I missed out on Banjo-Kazooie. As I've gotten older, I find that there are two camps. You either played Banjo-Kazooie, or you played Donkey Kong 64. And I was a Donkey Kong 64 kid. So I had no idea, until I met Josh, I had no idea what Banjo-Kazooie was.
Huh.
So...
That's crazy.
Yeah. I see their similarities. Obviously, they're made by Rare. So, for me, it's been something where I'm like, if I'm gonna play a Rare game, again, I'm the kid that played 64, so I'd play Donkey Kong 64. But
for me, it'd be GoldenEye, but
oh, great game. But anyway, definitely a game I need to play because all I hear is good things about it. Yeah, I think it would be, even though I've never played it, nostalgia because of Rare. I very much miss Rare. But yeah, no. Unfortunately, I think, like I said, you either played 64 or you played Banjo-Kazooie.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, that's all I really got on that. It's just it is a bloody good game. It is one of those ones, as Jake was kind of saying with Smash. It's just the fan base is hyper for these games, and honestly, as a fan and a guy who's played the games, it's for good reason. It is for good reason. It's not they're not overhyping something. You know, I don't know. It's a lot of games though, I guess in that regard. So worth your time for sure.
All right, this one I think will surprise you guys for how low it is, but I bought this same day as Assassin's Creed. But they were both used at the same GameStop. But the same day I got Arkham Asylum. Again,
for enunciating ham there.
Arkham Asylum. But anyway, you know, that's weird. Arkham, Gotham, but whatever. Oh, yeah. Very low on my list, in my opinion. Again, this is not my top 10 favorites, but this is my top 5 influential. This got me into beat-em-ups. It's Batman. I picked it up, and I was like, how do I not know about this game? Obviously, I grew up watching Batman Beyond. I grew up watching Batman the Animated Series. I watched all of the Tim Burton Batman movies. You know, Christian Bale's Batman's came out in my childhood. Yeah. Batman is huge for me. So I saw this game, and I was just like, holy crap, how do I not know about this? It literally says I can be the Batman. I love this game, love the series. Even for its age, I replay this probably the whole series once a year. It's just so much fun for me. I think it holds up in today's standards. Yeah, it's a little graphically behind, but I think it's still super fun to play. I think it's very hard for me between the 4. I'm not including Suicide Squad, but the 4. You know, which one my favorite is. It very much like Josh said, this can vary for his picks, but yeah, I don't know. It's short, sweet, but tells a very good story, and you know, introduced us to a new combat system that I really like. I love being up in the gargoyles, picking them off one by one. That's just how it's Batman. I'm Batman. Like, I feel like Batman. It makes me feel so good. Yeah, I know I talked about this in last month's video, but oh my god, I need more. James Gunn, here we are, part 2, calling you out. Make more.
There's a certain... I don't even know how to explain it, but with Arkham Asylum, I just... When I played it, I feel like in that moment I played a perfect game.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to say it in the sense of, like, it is one of the best games of all time. I think it's a fantastic game. It's amazing. It might even be my favorite of the series. I can't actually tell. But not without its flaws, but it's just like I feel like everything they tried to go for, they did perfectly. And for a first shot too, holy shit, man, holy shit, it is very good. It is fantastic. Even as a passing Batman fan, I loved it. Wanted me to get more into the franchise, and I think it's just a game that, like, unless you just for some reason absolutely despise the Batman universe, you should play. It is another game that just it lives up to everything that people have said about it. I think the original one at least is worth a shot. You can say your opinions on the other Arkham games, but Arkham Asylum is worth your time. It's not even that long.
Like I said, it's short and sweet, but it tells a very good story.
I fully agree. I will say this is another series I got into very late. And I've only really played Arkham Asylum. And I prefer Arkham Asylum versus the other ones because of I like the smaller map. I know that's not
No, I do
as
too.
famous of a thing, but I
larger
prefer
maps,
that smaller map. It feels more Metroidvania-y, and I love Metroidvanias. It's amazing. It's a little easy to get lost. Sometimes just walking around is a little clunky. Again, I played this very late. This was the last game I played before I moved out of my parents.
Really?
So, yeah. I loved this game. I love Batman. I'm not as big of a fan as Grant, but I do have my ties to the series. I loved the animated series. I grew up with the Justice League.
Oh, how did I forget Justice League? So true.
But there's just so many parts of my life were tied to Batman. So this game, this is probably I would say this is the best in the series from what I've played, but I haven't even touched Night.
You can stand by your opinion.
I personally feel City has a better story.
But yeah, no, that's the one thing I would say is like Asylum does have a very good story, but I feel like it jumps too far into the Batman timeline for it to be the first in the series.
I agree.
Like Oracle already exists, and if you know Oracle's whole thing, like in terms of Batman timeline, she's a much later character in terms of events.
And I'm sorry, give me a game of that story alone. Of when honestly, Oracle is made.
But regardless, I grew up with Lego Batman. That was my Batman. So, but yeah, great, very, very, very good pick.
Yeah, no, I agree. Mr. Jake?
Okay, time. I think this will be the wildest one on this entire list.
I'm ready.
She put some stupid ass shit right
stupid.
here.
Don't criticize my taste. I love this game. I replay it once every like 4 or 5 years. This is one of 2 of the games I played in this series. Number 3 for me is SSX3. And you guys are giving me looks like you have no idea what that is.
That's because I have no idea what that is.
It's a snowboarding game. It's an EA snowboarding game
on
PlayStation 2. Yes. It got me into racing games. It got me into, I would say, like flashy tricks and stuff. So that's what got me interested in Jet Set Radio, similar stuff like that. But the main reason why this is on here at all for me, there's a couple other littler reasons, but the big reason, it is what influenced my taste in music.
Really?
When I do listen to music, it's a lot of pop punk, rock, and metal, and you can see a lot of that in SSX3. My favorite song ever, and I know I'm one of those people where it's like you probably shouldn't have a favorite of anything because it should be mood-based in the moment. Jerk It Out is such a nostalgic song for me. Yeah, I know. See, you guys are learning so much.
I am.
This game's great. Oh my god. If you want a just goofy PS2 GameCube era racing game that has snowboarding and stuff, this game is so fun. The characters are interesting. Not that there's a story or anything, but like they just like you can learn a lot about them. There's some awesome customization stuff. It feels of its time, and from here they kind of watered down the series and it became more actual sports snowboarding instead of the wild huge jumps, snowboarding down buildings, that kind of stuff. This game's awesome. I do recommend giving it a check. I believe it's on the Xbox store. So if you get the ability to check it out, but yeah, otherwise this was a good multiplayer game for me. I played this with my little sister a lot. I played this with friends, neighbors. This was one of those games where I wore the disc out on the PS2.
Wow.
So I have a couple copies, and I only did that with a couple games. The other ones mentioned Simpsons Hit and Run, Cars, the video game, because that game is actually weirdly good. I want to say that I did with Midnight Club as well, but I don't fully remember. But anyway, yeah, SSX3 is amazing. It got me into racing stuff. It got me into trick, cool, flashy things like that. Great music. Great
Played
multiplayer.
the only snowboarding game I'm familiar with is 1080 on N64.
Yep, and I have not played that.
Yeah, it's fun. I don't think I even know this franchise, if I'm being honest.
It is EA, so that is probably why. If you know the like EA brick sound effect, probably a lot of people know it from this. PS2 era is like my baby.
Yeah.
I love like a lot of PS2 stuff. No more games for the PS2. This is kind of like my showing off of the PS2 era, but that was also because I got into some of these a little more later, like Ratchet and Clank and stuff like that. Like I would say those are very integral to my childhood. Same thing with Scooby-Doo, Simpsons Hit and Run, like I mentioned. These are big, but this one had a huge influence on me in terms of what I like, in terms of games, music outside of it. I know I don't want to mention stuff too much outside of games, but music is a huge part of video games. That's all I really got to say about this.
Fair enough.
Again, I don't know this game, but you unlocked a core memory for me, because your SSX3 is my Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure that is for a lot of people. Same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like I met a friend. He moved to our school, early elementary, and he's like, "Yo, do you like these games?" I'm like, "I don't know what they are, but I'll give it a shot because I like the snowboarding game."
Yeah, no, Tony Hawk's a pro skater. Is just. Ooh. I wasn't good at the games, but God, yeah, no, I at least understand where you're echoing with a lot of that. Like, I'm not a big sport guy, go figure, playing video games. But yeah, things like Tony Hawk, even 1080, I just remember like the music being pretty cool. The closest thing I have to I like racing, like Mario Kart 64, Diddy Kong Racing, stuff like that. So I mean, I get it. Soundtrack having a big play. If I could expand this to 10, you would probably see a Guitar Hero game in my
Oh
Yep.
yeah.
especially Guitar Hero 2 and 3. Fantastic game. So I understand what you're saying. I know I gave you shit right before this, but like no, I mean I'm surprised it is above Melee and Halo, but
my list isn't totally in order. I wouldn't say I like the game more, but it had more of an impact on me in general.
Yeah, no. So, yeah. Guess I'll move on to my number 2, huh? Quest 64. Quest 64, baby. Quest 64, baby. Quest 64 is a stupid game, but I love it. As I just said, don't put some stupid ass shit there, Jake. I put some stupid ass shit in number 2. No, it's so Quest 64, I came home one day, my mom was just like, yo, there's a rummage sale down the road. Alright, cool. Picked up this game for like $3. Alright, cool. Quest 64. Alright, cool. Never heard of it. I plugged that bad boy in and I played it, and I had a great time. I was stuck in the first town for an ungodly amount of time because I did not realize you could just walk up to the door and leave. And I was with my friend who was experiencing this game for the first time too. We met outside. I heard the sounds of the overworld theme, and we were like, we yelled freedom, and immediately get into a battle with 3 hellhounds, and I got scared. It is, in a sense, a very unfinished, not perfect RPG. The lore of Quest 64 being on the N64, being on a console that has not many RPGs, there's a lot to go on it, and I'll have my own time to shine for that in a sense. But it is a game I played a lot of times. I had fun with, even when I eventually got into online spheres, when I got to things like message boards, and people are like, dude, I'm like, yo, why does nobody talk about Quest 64? And people are like, because it's a shit game. That's why nobody likes this game. And I'm like, what? No. And then I remember watching Pro Jared's video when it first came out on Quest 64, and I'm like, this guy sucks because his opinion is wrong. And then I watch it, now I can watch it now, and I'll be like, no, that makes sense. Like, everything he said was factually correct. in a sense. It is bare bones and stuff, but in a sense of why it is higher than games like the three below it, is because I think in a sense it's provoked me to want to make videos like where I'm at today. I would kill to have some sort of game development, game modding knowledge to make a Quest 64 how me and probably a lot of other people envision it. I actually believe there is a team working on trying to restore it to the former glory. And with a lot of video game development, especially stuff back in the 90s, there is not a lot of... there wasn't a lot of knowledge spared, so a lot of it was pre-release game footage and a lot of it's fan speculation. But the team, there's a lot of dedicated people with this. I'm glad I'm not the only one. There's my certain niche on the internet that does defend this game to hell and back. And I will be there too, but I have a lot of this game because it is a game. It also helped me learn that, you know what? Nostalgia does play a lot into people's opinions on video games. Not every game I played as a kid is going to be a masterpiece. I am lucky to have 3 games that are considered some of the best in their respective genres, like Pokemon Yellow, Banjo-Kazooie, and Ocarina of Time. At least 2 of those games, not being Pokemon Yellow, but they still hold up fantastically. Gen 1, I could say, you play Fire Red and Leaf Green, and I think that holds up extraordinarily well. So you can kind of blend it to there. And it's just, Quest 64 doesn't do anything new, but was it one of the first shred RPGs I played, more like a JRPG type of deal? I played this before frickin' Final Fantasy, man. So you can't say it's a ripoff when I played the original first, baby. Quest 64 it's like a more personal and stuff of why I want to make videos. Only dethroned by number 1 for me. But we'll come back to that later. I'm sure you guys don't have much to say on Quest 64.
I do.
Besides that I talk about it.
Go ahead. You know me. I actually have a very, very, very similar story. Quest 64, although I didn't get it from a rummage sale, I got it from my dad. He got it, and then he gave it to me because he thought it was stupid. But
your dad's don't know.
So I played it, and I had the same exact thing happen. I was stuck in the first town, just not knowing what the hell to do. I probably didn't help that I probably played it at a point where I could barely read. So whatever. And you finally get to the field, and I don't remember what I ran into, but I ran into a monster, and I got scared, and I never played it again. The only other time I went back to it was Cub Scouts. Somebody showed me one of the Oracle games, and for some reason, I thought it had something to do with Quest 64. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go back and play Quest 64. And I did the same exact thing. I didn't get scared, but I just kind of gave up.
Right.
But so where Josh's story continues, mine ends. But I have nostalgia for it, and I played it when I was very young. I didn't think it was bad or anything. I was just too little to comprehend it.
Dude's name is Brian.
Oh, that's the other thing. I was insisted that his name was Quest for the longest time.
Oh.
That's good.
Which is funny enough, because you're probably like, this dumbass probably thought Link was Zelda. No, I knew it was Link. I knew Zelda was the princess. But was insistent that this motherfucker was named Brian, or Quest. Go, Quest, go!
I mean, I watched some of your stream of it too, but the only thing I know about that game is Brian. His name is Brian.
His name is Quest, please.
Brian Quest, it's his last name.
Yeah,
Quest.
It must be, John Questman. Alright, no, that's all I really got. I won't yap about this, because I could spend 3 hours alone on Quest 64, so...
Alright, more so I would say my introduction to fantasy. It was the reason I wanted Baldur's Gate 3. It's the reason I got into D&D, all that fantasy stuff. My number 2 pick is going to have to be Skyrim. I played the crap out of this game. I have several replays, several different characters. I've played every race. Oddly enough, I never did Magic because as a teenager, I was like, no, man, like Magic's not real. It can't be fun, and like I hate myself for that a little bit because Baldur's Gate 3 kind of like, and D&D in general, because I was the same way in D&D. I was like, no, absolutely, I'm gonna be like a barbarian or fighter or something like that because magic, it's not real, it can't be fun, and there's too much to read, too much to do. I hate young me for that because like holy crap, like it's so much fun. But Skyrim's huge for a lot of kids our age, just because like it was the first, I think we can argue, the first open world game that actually had life in it, if not the first open world game. The story is pretty interesting. I think Oblivion's story is a little more interesting, but that game is so clunky. But the dragons are coming. I love dragons. If you know anything about me, I think they're very cool. They're very interesting creatures. The fact that everyone across the globe has some kind of dragon story. So I see this game where I'm like, oh my god, I can be a knight and I can go kill dragons. I need this game. This was my number one game for all time until Baldur's Gate 3 came out. So this was only dethroned by Baldur's Gate 3.
Yes, that makes sense. That's like you said. I wouldn't have said that for your list, but that makes sense.
Yep.
Weirdly enough, so I'm the youngest of us, but weirdly enough, I have this same feeling for Oblivion.
I figured.
I don't know why. I played Oblivion first, and I didn't really care for it. Then I played Skyrim, and I didn't really care for it. So I went back to Oblivion, and I kind of fell in love with it.
Yep.
I was like, what's happening?
It's clunky, but it's so funny.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. Skyrim is fun too. Now that I've gotten around to like actually playing the games and stuff, Skyrim is fun.
Another thing, the game got me into memes. I mean,
oh god, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like around that time, memes were becoming a thing, and hey, finally awake. You couldn't go anywhere without seeing that.
Yeah, no, I totally see that. That's actually, weirdly enough, that's not what got me into D&D.
I've never played a Elder Scrolls game.
I know that about you.
People will think I'm the biggest gaming fraud of all time, but you know what? Play Quest 64, and then you will tell me what the fuck is a Skyrim.
Have you played Fable?
No. Never, no Fallout.
Whoa.
No Fable.
I know.
I didn't really get to grow up at Xbox. I was also, Skyrim was on a time where my parents were like, no mature games. No games like that. They allowed us to get like Call of Duty and stuff because all you did was kill people. Killing terrorists is fine, but the mention of sex? Nada.
Oh, no.
Nada. Games like Assassin's Creed were off the table for years. Because it was like you could buy hookers. If you've actually
Lady
played the game,
of the Night.
In that game, you actually use them to blend in to distract the guards, which is completely... I mean, yes, technically you are paying for their services, but, like, you're not just going to Bone Town, you know what I'm saying? So
you can do that in Fable. That's what Fable's for. My go? Or you got any more thoughts, Grant?
No, that's it. I love Skyrim. It's still my number 2 favorite game. I haven't played in a while, so I definitely want to pick it back up. But that's something for my own channel someday. So
maybe if they release Elder Scrolls 6, I'll play it with everybody else.
Todd Howard, listen up. Release number 6. I'm sick of it. We've waited for too long. I've bought all your other Skyrim re-releases except for the last one. Figure it out, Todd Howard.
So, yeah, do that, Todd Howard, first of all. Second of all, my number 2. It's no surprise Pokemon. I have again, weird that I have so many parallels to Josh. So my first Pokemon that I played was Yellow. I hated it.
Oh.
Mind you, I could not read. So at the time I started playing video games, I was probably 3 or 4. I don't know how I had the motor functions to, but the only games I would play were Tetris and Mario Kart Super Circuit. At some point, I had got my hands on Pokemon Yellow, and I hated it. Obviously couldn't read.
Yeah.
Much later. No, I guess not much later, but like 3 years later. I got leaf green. So, if we're talking about importance to my life, I will say right now that is black and white. Stuff happened to me, and black and white's helped a lot. But Pokemon got me, or Leaf Green got me into Pokemon. Leaf Green made friends for me. You can, this is, I probably don't need to ramble too much here because it's Pokemon. Everybody that likes Pokemon loves Pokemon for a certain reason. I have the typical stories of not knowing how to save, so like I'd redo the first route a couple times until my Game Boy would die, yada yada. But I mean, I loved this game. I think the only thing of note really, this was my JRPG introduction. Yeah, I like Pokemon. I've always nicknamed my Pokemon, so that was like when like Nuzlocke were a thing. I'm like, oh, they're doing things I like. But my first team was like my main, and this wasn't even like I wasn't using Pokemon I liked. I just used Pokemon I thought were good. And Raticate had like Hyper Fang or Super Fang or whatever it was. So I thought Raticate was really good. So my team was like Raticate and like Butterfree and I think Cloyster. And then I had an Ivysaur as backup. I never evolved
as backup.
Yeah. I never beat the game. I never beat the game as a kid. I ended up beating it way later.
The team of all time.
Yeah. But anyway, I love Pokemon because of Leaf Green. It got me into the cards. As I said, it made me friends. I was sociable with Pokemon. I probably have the most time in Platinum. But that was just because that was like the easiest to be social about. DS was so much easier. But yeah, I don't really need to ramble too much more. Pokemon is Pokemon.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I kind of was even mentioning Leaf Green in my yellow part too. It's just, it is a superior version to yellow in a sense. It's still replayable to this day.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the one I always go back to is Fire Red for me, because that was my first Pokemon game. But, I mean, same difference. Alright, going into the last round, I have a suggestion.
Okay.
We guess your final one. Because now we can't ruin the list.
It's obvious.
This is Golden Sun.
No, he's a Shadow the Hedgehog.
So, Shadow the Hedgehog is just a fantastic, like, Sonic game. Over Sonic Adventure Battle 2, I had more of an experience with as a kid, and even Sonic Adventure, or Sonic 3 Knuckles. Shadow the Hedgehog, it, like, obviously was very edgy for its time, but something about it just made me feel good inside. And so Golden Sun, Golden Sun is everything like Quest 64 or the other three had said. Just up to the, everything. I would love to continue this franchise. I would love to create games basically due to Golden Sun. A lot of my life is just, I don't know, if I could, something like that. It is the game that kind of got me into the real JRPGs. Like, I don't know, if Pokemon Yellow was my first RPG, and Quest 64 was the first one that maybe was more traditional, like Golden Sun was the real one. Like, that was the main dish. You know, the appetizers were already there. Golden Sun is a game I've replayed dozens of times. The second one I played less so, but I didn't get that one right away. It was, my brother owned the game first. I would like argue to make sure I had it to play because I just wanted to play. Like, any waking moment I wanted to play this game. It was such a unique game that still could be innovative and still hasn't been matched to this day in terms of some of the design choices that they could do with it. So I want to continue its return. It will be a game franchise that I will never shut up about, even if all its creators are dead. And there's been no games. I mean, it's been 14 years now since we've had our last Golden Sun game. I saw that recently too, and yeah,
Ended on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, I ended on a cliffhanger. That's for damn sure. You can include Lost Age if you'd like, just because it is a perfect duology, in my opinion, games. But
Yeah, it is a Sonic and Knuckles situation where it is kind of like two parts of one half. Or
it would have been its
Sonic
own
3 and
game.
Knuckles,
But they just come back to me when they announced that they've HD remastered these into a one game,
HD
like
2D.
the true vision of these games would be. So that's all.
Yeah, I feel like, much like you said with my Skyrim pick, because you've talked this up so much, if they were to come out with a duology, an updated thing, or even a next game, I would 100% pick it up. But I have so much in my queue that I just haven't gotten to this. But I really do want to play Golden Sun, just how much it has impacted you.
So Golden Sun, the Hedgehog Shadow.
What a
Golden
game.
Sun is one I can actually endorse. Josh knows this because I play a lot of games he recommends, but I have a really, 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 really bad habit of playing a JRPG up until the final boss and then putting the game down either because I lost or I just...
I do the same thing, man.
It's always the end, too. So I unintentionally did it with Persona 3, I unintentionally did it with Persona 5, and I've done it with Golden Sun. I know I've done it with more. Final Fantasy 3. But with Golden Sun, I have gotten to the final boss twice now, and I have never beaten it. But I can say I love the game. The art design is amazing. It is one of those games where I've known about it for like ever, just because it has such an iconic look to it. The soundtrack is amazing. It is a great game. I haven't played the second game. I've played the DS game a little bit, but it's just one of those games where it feels like Nintendo didn't put enough effort into it, and they're crashing and burning because of it. And not crashing and burning, but like they lost something that was very, very special because they didn't put enough effort into it.
They don't really have an RPG franchise outside of Pokemon.
No, yeah, Nintendo does the occasional Mario RPGs. They've been doing a lot lately, but
it's been a hot minute.
Yeah, right. But like that's it. They don't... Pokemon is kind of its own thing. If you want like a traditional JRPG, there isn't anything. Nintendo had something, and I think the outcry for it has proved that. But I don't know if Nintendo cares, because Camelot does all their sports games now, and Camelot was the one that made Golden Sun. So this is one of those things, and it's just sad.
Yeah.
Because there's so much potential here, but if you point to anything, because I'm sure I've heard like developers wanting to continue the series, but Nintendo just doesn't give them the green light, and it's like, this is awful.
I was just gonna say that's a Nintendo trope at this point. Is the fans want this? Yeah, go screw yourself. We're going in a different direction.
Some series are a little understandable, like Mother because it's done, Kid Icarus because it's hard to continue.
But like, this is one where the Takahashi brothers who created Golden Sun, basically where they're at now, they're like, this is like 1% of what we wanted to do. The storyline hasn't even started for them yet, which I just want to see what they keep cooking with. I want to see it. And that's why I joke about them all being dead, but like I want to see them come to their vision. Like, yeah, they could always just have a spiritual successor, but like I just want to see some sort of natural conclusion. Yeah, you could have ended on the duology, and I would have had some sort of semblance of closure. But then you made another game that the fans wanted, and then you leave another cliffhanger with more questions than answers. And I don't know, it may sound stupid, but it feels like maybe a part of my life won't be complete, at least in a gaming sense. I just want to have that story conclusion. It is something that will always bug me. Quest 64, I'll never know what the full game was going to be like, and that's fine, maybe. Banjo-Kazooie never got its Banjo 3. That's fine. Pokemon and Zelda are still thriving. I got nothing to say on those games. Yeah, that's... We can move on, but I'll say, I'm skirting around some of these because I will save my full unedited thoughts, or for some other time. But
All right,
Yeah.
Nintendo, hear me out. Get me into this series. Release it. I want it. Let's do it. All right, boys.
Man.
What is it?
Shadow the Hedgehog.
Shadow, the Mario.
All hail Shadow. Okay, that was
TTYD, baby. It's the 1,000-Year Door. I'm not going to spend too much time chatting about this one. There's a reason it's the only 6 Shaka score I have on my personal channel. It's the only reason I didn't play that one first on stream is because I was waiting on an Elgato. This game for me is deep down the biggest one that has ever influenced me. I'm the younger of 2 siblings, so my brother and I played through all of the first Paper Mario, and I only played the partner. But this one, I actually played in the same time my brother and I were playing this game, and I beat it before he did. So this got me into RPGs. It showed me, hey, you know what? You can do this too. You don't need to be player 2. You can be player 1. You know, it had something very special to it, in my opinion. Like, yeah, it's a little dated, and you run back and forth a lot, and I do gripe about that. Shameless plug number 2. It is on my channel if you want to hear all of my thoughts on this game. But you know, this was really my introduction to Nintendo besides like Mario Kart and Party. Obviously, we all played those as kids too, but it showed me that there's a different kind of gaming out there. It's not just the simple, oh, you can play this in an hour, but there are some that have stories to them where you can actually embody the characters and, you know, you play however you want. You can customize whatever you want. So for me, this will always have a special place in my heart because this really kind of awakened me as a gamer. This is the one that showed me, congrats, you're player 2. You're a big boy now. Grab the controller and play games.
I like Paper Mario 64.
I do too. But, and again, that is one I will play eventually. It's just not as influential to me because I was only player 2. I was only the partner where my brother was the one who really led, and I'm being Mario. I'm the one, the only thing you can do is pick a move and use it. So, and it wasn't like that. It was just like he wanted me to play with him, and that's what I could do at the time. But, yeah.
I just got to play this game for the first time this year. I know, it's just a fun experience for sure.
Yeah, Josh and Jake can both attest when that remake came, or was announced, I about dookied my draws. Because I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, that we can talk about that announcement. That came out of nowhere.
Nowhere! Like, nobody knew this thing was coming, and like, jaw-dropping.
As cool as it is, I'm surprised they didn't start with 64.
I am too. But I think it's because they already have Nintendo 64 emulation.
That's kind of my guess too. It's so wild to me that it's just like
clamoring for 1,000-Year Door to be remade was probably a lot heavier though too, because I think it does
too. It's not a port.
Yeah,
it's not.
It's not just a port or a remaster. It is a remake. It's very similar to the original, but.
Yeah, it does resemble a remaster in a lot of ways, but the way they treated this is a remake.
Yeah, it is very much quality of life stuff was added. I can't speak enough about this game. It's just, and I won't waste your guys' time. Go shameless plug number 3 if you want to hear my full thoughts. Go see it on my channel.
Okay, so my last one, and I think you guys are thinking it's one thing. Josh persuaded me into something else. I do want to kind of say that this is more of an encompassing series, because it all kind of happened at the same time. So if it's not obvious, I'm huge on Sonic. You guys are probably thinking it's going to be Sonic Heroes. It is not.
No!
That does have very significant, important to this, and I'm going to mention the 2 that tie to this as well. So the game is Sonic Mega Collection Plus, as Josh had kind of mentioned. I had kind of forgotten how much that touched me as like an emotional thing as a child. So one of my first full gaming experiences, and I never beat it, obviously, because a dumb kid, moved when I was around like 3 to like my childhood home. One of the first games I played there is while they did construction on the kitchen, they put the CRT on the table, Dreamcast, I played Sonic Adventure. I never got past Emerald Coast. I beat Emerald Coast, but I never beat I never found where I needed to go after that first stage. So it was huge for me, just experiencing that. My dad saw how much I liked that, so he got me Sonic Mega Collection Plus, which led to me eventually buying Sonic Heroes as my first game that I ever bought on my own. But Sonic Mega Collection Plus has so many Sonic games, so many Sega games, that it was such an experience. And it's displayed as this lovely package. They cared. They wanted you to know how much this history mattered. I was able to experience Sonic 2 and 3. I hated Sonic 1, so I completely ignored that. I don't anymore. Mm-hmm. But Sonic 2, Tails, it introduced me to one of my several of my favorite fictional characters ever. Sonic, Tails, Knuckles.
We love Trevor.
Yeah, we love Trevor the Tail. It was just so important. My sister was able to play with me. She was very young, so she didn't mind not really playing, but being able to do the every now and then where she could control Tails and just jump, it was something we could both do. We put so much time into that. And we grew up with the PlayStation 2 version, so there was some bonuses. We got, I don't think, the Ooze is on the GameCube version, but that game is weird. I believe Vector Man is on there, and then Comics Zone. I love Comics Zone. So this is more encompassing. But one of the really big obviously this series means so much to me. I love platformers. I love just fast things. But there's extras where you could read little bits of the comics and see little videos, and there's pre-release footage of Sonic Heroes, and I thought it was just the coolest thing. I would rewatch the Team Dark intro cutscene over and over. I'm like, who are these characters? Who is Shadow? Who is Omega? Who is Rouge? Who are these people? This is amazing. And then there's the opening theme, and it was just stuck in my head, and I'm watching all this stuff happen. It became such this important thing, and it did lead to me playing Sonic Heroes, which everybody knows is my favorite game. It might not be forever, but if it's my go-to. But it's this collection of games where it's just it was made to celebrate Sonic, and they did it phenomenally. It was an amazing experience. I don't know if you guys have any experience with that collection.
I did. I played it a little bit. It's fun.
Yeah, I gotta say, that's an upset. I definitely was 100% in Sonic Heroes, but that makes more sense after hearing what you said.
I'll give a little detail on that, just because I know this bit is going to come up a lot. I obsess over Sonic Heroes. It is, like I said, pretty much my favorite game of all time. It's cheap to get, so I collect it.
How many copies?
It's 6, I think, but it's a $20 game, so it's I'll get it. I'll get it. I'll get it. I rediscovered Sonic Heroes, that's why I didn't pick it. I never beat it as a kid. At some point, it stayed up ridiculously late in middle school or high school, I don't remember. I'm I liked this game as a kid. I'll play it right now. I re-fell in love with it then. So I would not say it's the nostalgic factor there for Sonic Heroes.
Again, and this is our most
Mega Collection led to Heroes, which led to Unleashed, which led to 06 Generations, Adventure 1 and 2.
Right, it's our most influential, not our favorites.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, no,
Oh, and that music. It makes me tear up. It's so good. Oh my god.
Yeah, no, it's a little bit more deeper, ranty stuff, but once again, hopefully it gets a little feel on how we game.
How we feel, yeah.
I think Jake surprised me the most. There's no Mega Man, and again, I really thought
I didn't play Mega Man until high school.
Really? I didn't know that.
Or middle school.
Honestly, more surprised no Kirby, if I'm being honest. But.
Kirby 64 almost replaced Leaf Green. I will say that.
Oh, wow.
Almost. But I just don't have that much to say on it. So.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think that's all we have. Unless if any last comments, we'll just wrap it up there.
No, yeah. Interesting lists. Yeah, interesting lists. I learned a lot about you guys, so.
I think it's interesting that I'm the youngest but I feel like some of my games are a little earlier. Josh has definitely like probably the most Nintendo-y.
Yeah.
And then Grant has, like, aside from Paper Mario, that looks like an Xbox 360 list if I've ever seen.
It absolutely was an Xbox 360 list. All of that was, holy cow, all of that was 360.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, aside from that, that was just a little bit about us. I'm sure if you asked us a different day, some of these would be different. We remember different things, forget different things, so. But yeah, with that, I think that's about it. Thanks for checking this out. Subscribe to us again. This was just another Jake, Mr. Josh, and Shakabra. Hopefully we'll do more of this in the future. We'll have other content as well.
This was your Tomcast, fooling around.
Ah.